My husband humiliated my teenage daughter. With a joke, my ex punched him, I defended my husband, lost my daughter, faced CPS, lost custody, got pregnant, and now I'm realizing the truth too late. Did I ruin everything by choosing the wrong man? My new husband as my daughter and my entitled ex physically assaulted my husband. I blamed my ungrateful daughter and told her to move on and demand my ex apologize if he doesn't want to be locked up in prison. Now I'm regretting my actions. I, 38F, have a 14-year-old daughter, Katie, with my ex, Andre, 42M. We split up when Katie was around 4, and he's had her 4 days a week since then because of my work schedule. I work as a night supervisor at a healthcare facility, so my hours aren't always ideal. Andre stepped up more in terms of time, but I've always been the one holding the emotional and financial fort down when things got hard. He likes to act like a saint, but it wasn't always like that. For background, Andre and I didn't split on good terms. He had a temper. He never hit me or anything like that, but he has a way of blowing up that scared me sometimes. It's like he stores up frustration and then just explodes. When we were together, he'd yell if the dishes weren't done or if Katie was crying for too long. He'd say it was stress, and I used to believe it. He's always been good with Katie, don't get me wrong, but he holds grudges and can be real intense about what he thinks is right. I've been married to Rick 40mm for almost 3 years now. We met through mutual friends, and I felt like I could finally breathe around him. He's relaxed and goofy and doesn't take everything so seriously. Yes, he jokes a lot. Maybe too much. But I need that balance in my life. He's been good to Katie mostly. They're not super close, but he tries. He's not the stepdad who's going to attend every school play, but he'll drop her off places and make her pancakes, and he's always been respectful, or so I thought. Katie's in that stage where she's constantly self-conscious. She's quiet, moody, and glued to her phone. She started comparing herself to her friends a lot more lately, especially about her body. I've bought her bras, makeup, all that. Even things I felt were too early. But I didn't want her to feel left out. I thought we were handling it okay. Anyway, last weekend she had plans to go to the movies with a few friends, then over to one of their houses to hang out. Some boys were going to be there. I was fine with it. Katie's a good kid, and she knows how to handle herself. But Andre came to pick her up and immediately turned into Mr. Protective Dad. We were all in the living room and Katie was excitedly telling him about the plans. He instantly shifted into lecture mode. Be on the lookout. Call me if anything feels off. That kind of thing. I get it. He's being a dad. But it was a little over the top, especially in front of Rick and me. Like, show some trust in your daughter. That's when Rick said something. Yes, it was a dumb joke, but it was meant to be liked. He said, "Why are you worried? She doesn't even have bobs yet." Now, did I cringe a little? Yeah. But Rick says awkward crap all the time. It's his humor. He makes dumb, off-the-cuff remarks like that even to me. One time he joked, "I shouldn't worry about getting cattlers asking if I want to sell insurance." It's just Rick. He doesn't mean it cruelly. Katie went quiet and rushed upstairs. I admit that was a bit shocking. She doesn't usually react like that. Andre's eyes immediately went dark. I could tell something snapped in him. He turned to Rick and said, "What the hell did you just say about my daughter?" Rick just kind of raised his eyebrows and said, "I was joking, man. Chill." Before I could even stand up or say anything, Andre punched Rick straight in the face. Rick stumbled back into the wall and grabbed his nose. There was blood, and I panicked. Andre was breathing hard, staring like he wanted to do more. I shouted at him to get out and he didn't even argue. I told him he could wait for Katie in the car, but he wasn't stepping back into my house acting like that. Katie didn't come back downstairs. She just texted him to say she was ready. He didn't even speak to me when he drove off with her. That night, I texted Andre and told him what he did was unacceptable. I said I understood being protective, but he assaulted my husband in our home in front of Katie over a joke. Rick had a nose bruise that might need checking out and he was genuinely shaken up. I told Andre he needed to apologize plain and simple. He responded with something like, "Foe, that creepy my daughter and humiliated her." He said I was choosing a man over Katie and that I've always ignored the red flags with Rick. I don't believe Rick meant it a schoolie at all. It was a dumb off-key joke. He was trying to say Katie didn't need to worry about the boys like she's still a kid. Immature maybe, but that's a leap. Andre's always had it out for Rick. Since day one, he's looked at him like a threat. He's made snide comments before, like when Rick forgot Katie's bus schedule once. Andre said, "Must be nice to marry a grown-arse teenager." Another time, Rick missed Katie's school fundraiser because he had to work late, and Andre texted me, "Guess I'll be the only real man showing up again." So, I feel like this was more about Andre wanting an excuse to hit Rick than about Katie's feelings. He just needed the trigger, and Rick being Rick handed it to him, but now I'm stuck in the middle. Rick's nose is swollen and bruised, and he's embarrassed to leave the house. Andre is not speaking to me unless it's about Katie's pickup times, and Katie, she's been quiet around me since. She doesn't talk about what happened, but I noticed she asked to spend more nights at Andre's lately. I told her no, but it felt weird. Maybe I handled this wrong. Maybe I should have addressed Rick's joke more seriously. But it was still just a joke, right? Katie stayed quiet the rest of the week. She didn't talk about what Rick said, didn't bring up the punch, and didn't even mention the movie night. She came home, went straight to her room, and barely touched dinner. I asked if she was okay. She said fine, and shut the door. Typical teenage stuff, but it felt colder than usual. I told Rick to just give her space. He said he felt bad not for what he said, but because everything's blown out of proportion. He tried to make a joke again that night, saying, "Maybe I should wear a helmet around your ex next time." I didn't laugh. Andre refused to talk unless it was about drop-offs. He didn't come to the door. Katie walked out to the car without a word. I found out from mutual friends that he's telling people I let my pervy husband insult our daughter, and I chose the man over the kid. Even my sister called me to ask what happened. She never takes Andre's side, but this time she said, "Look, I don't like Rick either, but maybe he crossed the line." I asked Katie directly that Friday if she wanted to talk about what happened. She didn't look up from her phone, just said, "I don't care anymore. Can I stay at Dad's this weekend?" I said, "No." I told her the schedule is the same, and I'm not changing it just because she's uncomfortable with a joke. I reminded her that Rick lives here too, and she needs to be respectful. She nodded and went back to texting. The next day, Rick made breakfast and tried to joke with her, told her the pancakes were bob-shaped and winked. I snapped at him. He said, "What?" She used to laugh at dumb stuff like that. She didn't laugh. She didn't even eat. Just left the table. That night, I found padded bras and the laundry tags still on. Andre must have bought them. She never asked me. That stung. I've been the one taking her to appointments, buying her skincare stuff, and letting her stay up to talk about her crushes, but now she's acting like I'm the problem. I tried to sit down with Rick later and talk. I told him maybe he needed to pull back on the jokes, at least with Katie. He got defensive. He said he was just trying to be the fun stepdad and that Andre was poisoning her against him. He said he gets 4 days a week with her. You really think he's not feeding her stories? You really think this is about me saying one line? I didn't answer because maybe he was right. But here's the thing. Even if it was a stupid joke, Andre punching him in our home in front of our daughter was way out of line. You don't do that. You don't explode like that no matter how upset you are. That kind of violence is exactly why we split in the first place. Then came the school counselor call. Apparently, Katie asked to speak with someone. I was listed as the emergency contact that day, so I got the heads up. The counselor didn't say much, just that Katie was struggling with body image issues and made a comment about being embarrassed in front of adults. I didn't tell Rick about the call. I didn't see the point. What's he going to do? Write an apology card. He doesn't talk about feelings. He makes jokes and waits for it to pass. Andre, meanwhile, keeps pushing. He emailed me a list of boundaries he wants in place: that Rick not be allowed alone with Katie, that Katie stay with him full-time, and that any communication between Rick and Katie go through him. I didn't respond. I'm not giving him control of my house. He wants full custody now. Says, I failed to protect our daughter from a man who humiliated and escalized her. He's looking into getting a lawyer, but Rick didn't touch her. He didn't ogle her. He made a dumb joke, yes, but it wasn't predatory. And Andre laid hands on him over it. Why is that okay? Now my daughter barely speaks to me. My ex is going nuclear. My husband walks around like a victim. And somehow I'm the one everyone's mad at. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do here. I've tried to keep peace. I told Katie I'm here to talk. I told Rick to cool it. I even tried explaining to Andre that the punch made things worse, not better. Nobody's listening. Everyone's just drawing their own conclusions and turning this into a war. So, I'll ask here. Ada for expecting my ex to apologize to my husband after punching him in front of our daughter over what I still believe was just a bad joke. Comments. Comment 1. Look, I'm not saying your ex punching Rick was the right move, but holy SHT, you're completely missing what this was actually about. Your 14-year-old daughter, who is clearly struggling with body image, got mocked in front of 2 adult men, one of whom is supposed to be a parental figure about not having bobs yet. That's not just a dumb joke. That's humiliating and weirdly focused on her body in a way that a grown-ass man should never go. And your response, it was just a joke. He didn't mean it that way. Newsflash, intent doesn't erase impact. Your kid was mortified and ran off. That should have been your signal to pull Rick aside and say, hey, you crossed a line. That's not okay. Instead, your mad Andre got violent, which, yes, wasn't okay. But you're completely fine excusing Rick every single step of the way. Your daughter now avoids meals, barely speaks to you, and wants to stay with her dad. But sure, the real issue here is Andre's temper. Jesus, wake up. Comment 2. Alright, Rick's joke was effing inappropriate. Whether he meant it or not doesn't matter. You don't talk about a teenage girl's chest like that. Period. She doesn't even have bobs yet. Are you kidding me? I'd dick a guy too, if he said that about my daughter. But this whole post, this isn't about Rick. It's about you. You've decided that keeping your husband happy matters more than protecting your kid. You wrote paragraphs defending Rick's humor, his nose, and his bruised ego. And what? Katie gets a line or two about being quiet and moody. And now she's pulling away, seeing the school counselor, and doesn't even want to be in the same house with the guy. Your husband is making body jokes. Your daughter is eating dinner alone, and you're mad your ex wants full custody. I'll say it, Uta. And you're going to lose your daughter if you keep minimizing this. Comment 3. I'm going to be that guy and say this was never about the joke. This was a turf war, and Rick walked into it like a clown with a target painted on his face. Andre's got unresolved control issues. Clearly, he sees Rick as competition. And to be fair, you admitted he's been snide and territorial before. The second Rick gave him anything to latch onto, he took it and threw a damn punch. He's not just mad about the comment. He's mad that Rick exists. But here's where you screwed up. You're letting Rick play victim, but you're not acknowledging that Rick has never really built a relationship with Katie. He's not some dedicated stepdad who made one mistake. You said it yourself. He's not going to go to every school play. He makes awkward jokes. And now he's cracking pancake tea jokes to a teenage girl. If that's his idea of bonding, no wonder she's withdrawing. Andre shouldn't have hit him. But Katie is clearly telling you who she trusts and it isn't Rick. You're just choosing not to hear it. Update. I get that Reddit likes to dogpile when they think someone's wrong, but the things people said about Rick were disgusting. Creep, pervert, scumbag. Really? Over a joke that came out wrong. I wanted to clarify a few things. First, let's talk about Andre. The way people treated him like a hero in the comments? Unreal. This is a man who used to scream at me for putting too much salt in his eggs. He once punched a hole in the wall because Katie spilled juice on his car seats when she was 6. I stayed quiet about that for years. But now that he's suddenly Father of the Year, I think people deserve the full picture. He never hit me or her. But his rage wasn't new. He's explosive. Always has been. And the punch wasn't about protecting Katie. It was about power. He hates that I moved on, that I have a husband and that Katie lives here part of the week. After the punch, I banned Andre from the property. He stays in the car. Katie walks out. He showed up once at the door the next week, claiming he was there to talk calmly. Rick opened it and Andre just stood there staring at him without saying a word. I was in the kitchen and saw the whole thing. Rick quietly closed the door. That was the last straw. I told Andre in writing that if he stepped on my property again, I'd get a restraining order. Meanwhile, Katie has been different. Distant, short with me, barely says a word to Rick. I tried to explain to her that he's not a bad man. He's just bad with words sometimes. He knows he messed up, but he's been incredibly patient. He hasn't retaliated, hasn't reported the assault, even though he had every right to. His nose was bruised for 2 weeks. He didn't press charges only because he didn't want to make things harder for Katie. What really got me was finding out Katie's been telling her friends that Rick bullied her about her body. One of the moms even messaged me saying her daughter no longer feels comfortable hanging out at our place. I was shocked. Katie is making it sound like Rick's been saying her for months. That's just false. He made one off-color joke. I sat her down and told her it's time to stop spreading lies. I said I understood she was embarrassed, but turning everyone against Rick over a single comment was manipulative and cruel. Then came Rick's birthday. We had dinner reservations and I asked Katie 3 days in advance. She said she wasn't feeling well. I knew she was lying. Andre posted pictures on Facebook of the two of them at some local food truck event that same night. I was furious. Rick noticed. He tried to act like it didn't bother him, but I could see it in his face. She couldn't even show up for one dinner. That's not normal teenage behavior. That's targeted disrespect. We started family therapy per the school suggestion, but it was a joke. The therapist clearly had a bias. Every session was, how does that make Katie feel? Or what boundaries need to be respected? No one ever asked me what I was going through. I didn't even bring up the joke I knew. If I told the therapist about it, she'd twist it into something it wasn't and probably report it. I'm not letting them ruin Rick's life over something so petty. The worst part, Andre's new girlfriend messaged me. She's a teacher or nurse or something. Said she's concerned about Katie's emotional safety and that she's seen changes in her behavior. Who the hell does she think she is? She's known my kid for what, 3 months? I blocked her instantly. You don't get to play mom from the sidelines. Rick and I have talked about having a baby. I know people will freak out about that. But honestly, I want to build something that's ours. Something not constantly under Andre's shadow. Rick's kind. He brings me coffee at work. He helps with the house. And he's never raised his voice to me ever. He just has a weird sense of humor. I'm not going to destroy my marriage because Katie can't handle a joke. And Andre's helmet on revenge. But now Andre is pushing for full custody. Says, I failed to protect Katie emotionally and that my choice in partners puts her at risk. I got the lawyer letter last week. He's using the therapist's vague notes and twisting them to make me look negligent. I'm fighting it. But it's messy, expensive. And Katie, she acts like none of this is happening, like she's above it. She won't even say goodnight to Rick when she's here. She goes straight to her room, locked door. She's treating him like he's a predator, and I won't stand for that. That's not just teen moodiness. That's brainwashing. So, I'm done playing the peacekeeper. I'm done walking on eggshells. I'm her mother. She doesn't get to rewrite what happened. Rick isn't a creep. He's not dangerous. He's my husband and I love him. One bad joke doesn't erase 3 years of him being part of this family. If she can't forgive him for one moment of poor judgment, that's on her. And if Andre wants to throw lawyers at me, fine. Let's see how far he gets with his concern. When the court sees his history of anger and intimidation, Katie will grow up. She'll see who was really trying and who just wanted to control everything. But right now, I'm standing my ground. Comments. Comment 1. You know what struck me the most? It wasn't the comment or even your defense of Rick. It was how confident you are in rewriting everyone else's feelings. Rick didn't mean it. Katie overreacted. Andre is a danger. The therapist was biased. Girlfriend is nosy. Friends are being misled. Every single person involved is wrong except you and Rick. And you're making a baby with this man. Jesus Christ. You can't even handle the emotional well-being of the child you already have. You say Andre is controlling. From where I'm sitting, you're the one doing the gaslighting. You're rewriting Katie's emotional reality, cutting off people who care, hiding the truth in therapy, and then acting like you're the victim of some mass conspiracy. You don't want a daughter. You want a puppet that keeps your house peaceful. Comment 2. Let me tell you exactly how this plays out from Katie's perspective. You let a man you married make a humiliating comment about her body. Then when she told you through her actions, silence, distance, even therapy that it hurt her, you told her to get over it. You're basically telling her, this house isn't for you unless you're willing to be quiet and forgive what makes me comfortable. And then you double down by saying you're going to have another baby with this guy. You don't see how that cements her spot as the outsider in her own family? I didn't speak to my mother for 6 years after she chose her husband over me. And he never even made comments about my body. Katie's not overreacting. She's responding to betrayal. And if you don't course correct hard, you're going to lose her permanently. Comment 3. I'm a custody attorney and let me tell you something with full honesty. You're losing this case before it even starts. You admit Rick made an casualized joke. Yes, it was. You banned the father from the property after he defended his kid. And you withheld the incident from a mandated therapy process that could have helped your daughter. That's negligence. No matter how you spin it, You're not just defending Rick. You're actively obstructing your daughter's ability to heal. If the therapist finds out you hit a triggering event, that can blow up in court. Judges don't play around when it comes to teenage girls being put in emotionally unsafe environments. Rick doesn't need to be a predator to be a problem. You don't need to be abusive to be unfit, but you're definitely walking the line. If Andre's lawyer is even halfway competent, you're looking at a significant custody reduction. And honestly, Katie might be better off. Update. Andre ended up getting full custody. It's humiliating to type that out because I never thought a court would look at me, a stable working mother, and think I'm somehow less fit than Andre, a man with a documented history of anger issues. But that's what happened. A few commenters here predicted it. I thought they were exaggerating. Turns out they were just right. Everything started unraveling when Andre demanded that Rick stop being present during handoff. He claimed that Katie didn't feel safe when Rick was near her. I told him, no, Rick lives here. I'm not asking my husband to hide in the bedroom like a criminal in his own home. That triggered Andre to file a motion claiming I was creating a hostile transition environment. Around the same time, Katie used the phrase emotionally unsafe at school. The counselor flagged it. Then the therapist got involved, and yes, CPS came to the house. The woman who did the home visit wasn't rude, but she made it clear she'd spoken to Katie privately, and Katie described Rick's comment as body shaming and creepy. She also said the pancake joke made her want to disappear. I told the CPS worker that Katie exaggerates under stress, but it was just a joke taken out of context. She kept repeating, regardless of intent, we have to consider the impact. I wanted to scream. Rick wasn't even allowed to speak during the visit because they didn't want him influencing the environment. That pissed him off and he shut down for the rest of the day. Then we tried the normalization attempt inviting two of Katie's friends for a movie night. Total disaster. They barely talked. Katie wouldn't let Rick hand them snacks. She took the bowl out of his hands and walked away. One friend texted her mom to pick her up early. I heard one of them whisper, "Why is he being weird?" They meant awkward, not predatory, but Rick took it personally. He went into our bedroom for the rest of the night. He said it was like being painted as a sex offender for trying to help. After that, things spiral. Katie refused to come for her scheduled days. Andre documented every refusal, every text, every one. I don't want to go back. I kept telling her she didn't get to choose. Custody orders aren't optional, but forcing her into the house only made her shut down and cry. And Andre always made sure to record those moments like some courtroom trophy. The court eventually ruled that because Katie was 14, her preference mattered. The therapist's notes, plus the CPS report, even though it wasn't a finding, just a concern, pushed everything towards Andre. And the kicker. The judge said I had been emotionally negligent by minimizing Katie's distress, and that my failure to prioritize her comfort contributed to an unstable environment. I cried in the parking lot after the hearing. Rick said nothing the whole way home. He just stared out the window like he was the one who lost custody. The consequences for him? Well, he lost his teaching job for a semester. Someone, I'm guessing Andre's circle, emailed the district anonymously saying Rick made inappropriate comments about a minor. They couldn't legally fire him without proof, but they put him on leave during the investigation. He was cleared because there was no pattern, just the one comment, but the embarrassment destroyed him. He barely talks to anyone now. He's quieter, withdrawn. He says, this whole situation aged him 10 years. Not one single family member on my side asked how he was doing. But I'll say it here since no one else cares. Rick is hanging on, but barely. And after things finally stabilized after Katie fully moved in with Andre and the house became painfully quiet, I found out I'm pregnant. I waited a few weeks to tell Katie. I didn't want to add to her stress during the transition. And honestly, I wanted to tell her when she was calmer. She came for her last court-mandated visit before custody fully transferred. She barely said hello. I told her gently, I'm pregnant. You're going to have a little brother or sister. She didn't congratulate me. She didn't smile. She didn't say she was happy. She smirked. Then she said, good luck. Maybe you'll get it right this time. Then she grabbed her overnight bag and walked to Andre's car before her time was even up. I stood there frozen. I just stood there realizing my daughter has no respect for me left at all. None. And maybe that's my failure. Maybe I raised her to be too blunt, too opinionated, too influenced by Andre's bitterness. Maybe if I'd put my foot down sooner, been stricter, and not let her talk back as a kid, things wouldn't have spiraled. I don't say this lightly. I regret raising her to think she can say things like that to her own mother. I went inside and cried for hours. Rick held me, but even he looked hollow. This whole situation drained him too. People think he just shrugged everything off. He didn't. He took the blow harder than anyone besides me. No one notices because everyone's busy calling him names. But here's the truth. We're choosing hope. This baby is our chance to build something stable, calm, without drama, without being pulled between households, without a teenager weaponizing every emotion. I love Katie. I always will. But I'm closing that chapter for now. She made her choice. The court validated it. And I'm done chasing after respect. She refuses to give. Rick and I are moving forward, and honestly, I think we deserve peace after everything we survived. Comments. Comment 1. You stood there and watched your daughter walk away after telling you basically that she's done trying. And your takeaway is you regret raising her to be opinionated. Nah, that wasn't sass. That was pain. That was a kid who got humiliated, ignored, dismissed, then blamed. And when she finally stood up for herself, her mom sided with the guy who made the comment. You didn't lose Katie because she's Andre's pawn. You lost her because she figured out you'd rather protect Rick's ego than her safety. She ran out of ways to scream. This hurts. And now she's done trying. You think the baby's going to be a reset button? That's delusion. You don't start fresh by pretending the first child you failed is somehow a bad egg. Honestly, I hope that kid does turn out different, but only if you do. Comment 2. I don't even like your ex. Andre sounds like a DCK rage issues, micromanaging, overcompensating alpha energy. But let me say this. I get why he went scorched earth. He saw his kid hurt and humiliated by a man you brought into her life. And instead of hearing her, you closed ranks around the guy who did it. He probably felt like the only adult who gave a SHT. I've got a teenage daughter. If my ex's husband ever said anything like, she doesn't have bobs yet, I'd be in cuffs. I don't condone the punch, but I understand the instinct. That wasn't about violence. That was about helpless fury. You keep saying Rick was misunderstood. Maybe he was. But no one, not even you, ever stopped to say, Katie, that shouldn't have happened. That's all she needed. And now she's gone. You didn't lose her to Andre. You gave her away by pretending neutrality was compassion. It wasn't. It was cowardice. Comment 3. I'm not surprised CPS flagged your home. I've sat through dozens of cases like this. An emotionally checked out parent marries an awkward guy with boundary issues, ignores the kid's discomfort, downplays every red flag, then acts shocked when custody is taken. You didn't protect your daughter, not from danger maybe, but from humiliation, discomfort, dismissal, and constant invalidation. That stuff sticks deeper than you think. Kids don't need to be beaten to feel unsafe. Sometimes the most damaging homes are the ones that feel quiet but don't allow space for their emotions to exist. And for the record, it sounds like Katie was the only one telling the truth in that house. Everyone else was trying to manage her like she was a problem to fix. She got out. That's a win for her, not a failure on your part. The only failure here is that you never actually listened. Second story. My child-free fiancé pranked my mom by saying I'm pregnant to announce our engagement. Then found out I had a hysterectomy and claimed I betrayed him. So I'm a late 20s F and my fiancé is an early 30s M. Let's call in Carlos are still fighting about this, and it was already 2 weeks ago. When I was 21, I had a partial hysterectomy due to adenomyosis. It was very painful, and my doctor spent 2 years fighting for the approval because many people were against the idea. I didn't mind losing my uterus because 1, it was very painful, and 2, I was always child-free. Even as a kid, I didn't like kids. I met Carlos 3 years ago. I told him on day 1 that I was child-free and completely sterile. He said he was child-free too. So we went ahead with a relationship. He proposed in September, and we started slowly planning the wedding. I never told him about the hysterectomy itself. I did not hide it on purpose. It honestly just slipped my mind because I already told him I could not get pregnant. My mom did not know about the engagement because she was out of the country taking care of her elderly sister, and I wanted to tell her in person. She came back 3 weeks ago. After she rested for a week, we invited her to lunch so we could tell her about it. Carlos is a prankster, but not the weird kind. While we were eating and before I could show my mom the ring, he grabbed her hand and said, I am sorry, Mrs. Mayim. I impregnated your daughter. My mom burst out laughing, looked at me and said, Either you are about to get rich or you grew a new uterus. I laughed too and said, I hope not, because I had to talk to half the doctors in the country and their grandmas for the first time. Carlos stared at me and said, What do you mean? My mom said, the hysterectomy. Of course, Carlos said he had never heard about it. My mom laughed again and asked how he did not know. I said, I guess I never brought it up because I do not think about it anymore. We were quiet for a second. Then I showed my mom the ring and we celebrated. After she left, Carlos confronted me. He asked why I never told him about the surgery. I told him I had told him the important part, which was that I was sterile. He said the issue was the principle, and if I could keep something so big to myself for years, what else could I hide? I feel like that is unfair for me. I shared the relevant part at the moment, and later I just didn't think about it. I was not trying to keep secrets. I simply didn't think the medical details were relevant once we already agreed on being child-free. So now we want outside opinions. Ada for not telling him about the hysterectomy, or is he overreacting? He has read this post and approved it. So this is not only my point of view. I came back and there were so many responses. I'll make a quick edit to clarify some things. How did you forget to tell him this? It was a very traumatic experience and everyone and their mother looked at my vagina uterus. Actually, I felt embarrassed for a long time and pushed the experience deep enough till I forgot about it. Why didn't you tell him? At first, because I wasn't about to trauma dump on a dude I'd known for 2 hours, and I'm just a very quiet person. On our first date, I said maybe 50 words. I'm more talkative now, at least with him. But I like my privacy and to keep things that feel deeply personal just to myself, unless they're relevant to something. Edit 2. Hey, now that we have time to read some of the responses together, we want to clarify some other things. Carlos, did you know the difference between sterile and infertile? Apparently not. I thought they were the same, both meaning not able to have babies. How did he not notice she didn't have a period? To be fair, we haven't been living together for that long, 5 months, and he thought I had PCOS like his sister. Are you really child-free, or did you think you'd change your mind after the wedding? No, I am child-free, and was even thinking about getting a vasectomy just to be even safer. How didn't he notice any scars/hormone therapy, etc.? Well, I don't have any scars. The procedure was done vaginally, so the scarring is on the inside. I don't need hormones, at least not yet. I still have my ovaries and they're healthy ATM. And for the people saying that I should have told him just in case of an emergency, you're right. And I honestly never thought about that part. We'll update once we've had our session with a couples counselor because I feel there are things that are better to discuss with a professional. Comments. Comment 1. He's a prankster, but not in a weird way. Him fake pregnancy joke. Comment 2. What exactly does he think sterile means? Comment 3. Yeah, there is a big difference between sterile and infertile. Also, I had a hysterectomy due to endometriosis when I was 22. Even though I wasn't planning on having kids, there is still a lot of pain and suffering that led up to that moment. I don't know why Op's partner never asked or cared to learn about her past experiences with adenomyosis. Just odd. He seems angrier that she is sterile rather than wanting to understand or being compassionate about why she needed a hysterectomy to begin with at 21. That's a red flag on Op's partner's part. Comment 4. I feel like this is one of those dudes who don't know how women work. I strongly suspect he had no idea what sterile really means, and thought that she could probably just undo something and get pregnant when she changed her mind. Comment 5. Right? She said she was sterile and she didn't have a period for their whole relationship, and he never once asked why. That's on him. Oppie did nothing wrong. She gave the pertinent info, and if he wanted more, then he should have asked. Edited a word. Judgment int update. We had our session yesterday and I think I'm ready to post an update and clarify some things. We decided to write it from my POV because we tried doing it from both of ours and it was confusing to understand. First of all, for the people who said that since I still have my ovaries, we can still have kids. What is wrong with y'all? That's not how child-free people work. We don't want children. Period. For the people asking why I don't have any scars, I don't know what to tell you. It's not something I want to discuss with anyone, but they made an incision in my belly button. We decided not to talk much about any of this until we were with a therapist and some things came to light. The first thing Carlos did was apologize and explain why he was so upset. He said he wasn't really mad at me for not telling him, but he was hurt because it felt like for a long time he had to force information out of me. When I finally started sharing things willingly, he was excited and thought we were on the same page about everything. But when he found out about the surgery, he felt insecure and like an outsider, because it felt like it was always my mom and me and then him. He also said he felt embarrassed and dumb because he assumed what sterile meant and ran with it instead of asking for an explanation. He said it was more insecurity than anything, and he apologized again for how he handled his feelings instead of communicating with me. He also apologized for the pregnancy joke and said he was anxious because he really likes and respects my mom, but he wasn't sure if she accepts him. And in a moment of nervousness, he tried to lighten the mood with a joke that failed horribly. For my part, I also apologized for not sharing this with him, and for being so cold and distant sometimes. I told him I love him so much and I really want to spend the rest of my life with him. And I reassured him that I will always tell him things about me, even if they don't seem very exciting or important. After our session, we went home and shared every single stupid thing about each other. So, there are no more secrets. I knew almost all of them because Carlos is Mr. Oversharer, but I found out he broke his little toe when he was 7, and he was surprised that I still have all 4 of my wisdom teeth intact. We decided to postpone the wedding planning until the holiday season is over and just enjoy everything, then start over in January. I called my mom and she's coming over for dinner on Sunday, so we can redo the whole engagement announcement. I know a lot of people told me I wasn't in the wrong and that I didn't owe him any explanation. I think some privacy is always necessary in any relationship, but I want to feel close to him too. And it's not like I was really hiding things on purpose, so I don't mind sharing if it makes him feel the love I have for him. I think that's all. We really appreciate all the input and the different perspectives we got here. We'll continue with couples counseling for as long as it takes. Happy holidays to y'all. Comments. Comment 1. A relationship saved by honest communication. I think Reddit must be broken. OP. They did tell me to break up though. Lol. Comment 2. Reddit people would never jump right to throwing a healthy relationship away over a single incident. Comment 3. Amazing. Communication is key. Well done, OP. To be fair, it was an honest mistake on my part and his feelings were also valid. There wasn't any reason not to work it out. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your